search of containers. Containers. First, we need to understand what we mean by containers. Containers would include anything. If a person is carrying a briefcase, a person's suitcase, a person's lunch bag, a person's backpack, a person's lunchbox or pencil box, all these things would be considered containers. And we have a rule governing this search of containers. It is important for us to understand the legal rules we have concerning search of containers. Importantly, we have to understand the court said we need to understand these basic principles regarding people's expectation of privacy, because we know Fourth Amendment protects people's legitimate expectation of privacy. So it is very important for us to know how we actually ranked this people's expectation of privacy with regard to homes, automobiles, and also containers. We say people have a more expectation of privacy at home than they have in automobile. Because of this assessment, police need a warrant to conduct a search at a person's home. We know police cannot go to a person's home to conduct a search without a warrant. Why that is the case? Because people have a more expectation of privacy in their homes. But police may search an automobile without a warrant. We discussed. We have this automobile exception. If a police have a probable cause to search an automobile, they can conduct the search. They do not need a warrant. Why that is the case? Of course, we discussed that was because of this mobility of the automobile and also the possibility of a destruction of evidence. Actually, there is another reason for this automobile exception. That is, the court believed people have a less expectation of privacy in their automobiles than they have in their homes. So the police have to have a search warrant to search a home, but police may search an automobile without a warrant. But where should we place this container? And then in this container situation, the ruling of the court was people have a more expectation of privacy in a container than they have in an automobile. And then based on this assessment, and then police also need a warrant to search a container. All right? So that means if we have this automobile, police may conduct a search of that automobile based on probable cause. But if police have probable cause to believe, suppose you are holding, suppose police have probable cause to believe there are drugs in the backpack a person is carrying. Can the police search that backpack without a warrant? The answer is no. Police cannot do that because that backpack is considered a container. Police need a warrant to search a container. So that is a basic, some basic principles we need to know. And then let's look at this United States versus Chadwick. And it was in this case, the court actually decided people had more expectation of privacy in their containers, so police need to have a warrant before they can search a container. What happened in the case was police had probable cause to believe there are drugs in this 200-pound footlocker. And so the police just searched this footlocker without a warrant. The the police located the suspect at the train station, and as soon as the suspect actually carried this 200-pound footlocker outside the train station and loaded this footlocker, put this footlocker inside the trunk of the car. And then as soon as they put this footlocker inside the trunk, and then the police were upon them, the police arrested them. And then the police brought this footlocker back to the police headquarters, and then they conducted the search over there without a warrant. That is basically what happened in the case. So the issue we have in the case, actually we have two issues in the case. The ruling of the court, of course, the issue was whether this search was legal or not. The ruling of the court on that issue was this search was illegal. Actually, we had two issues in the case. One is whether this search could be justified under search incident to arrest doctrine, because we know the police first arrested the suspects, and then they seized this footlocker, and then brought the footlocker back to the police headquarters to conduct that search. So if a police already arrested these suspects, and of course we need to ask why the police could not justify the search under the search incident to arrest doctrine. We know we had this search incident to arrest doctrine. That is one of the exceptions to this search warrant requirement. The reason for why the police could not justify this search under the search incident to arrest doctrine was this. The police did not search the footlocker right away, because we need to bear in mind the two justifications for this search incident to arrest doctrine. One justification is to protect arresting officers' safety. Just to prevent this suspect from taking out a weapon to harm the police officer. That is one justification. Another justification is to prevent destruction of the evidence. But what happened in this case was, we already explained, the police did not conduct the search right away on the spot. The police actually took the footlocker back to the police headquarters, and then over there they conducted the search. When the police searched this footlocker, where were the suspects? They were locked up in jail. So when these suspects were already in jail, of course it was not possible for them to grab a weapon to harm the officer or destroy the evidence in the footlocker. So these two justifications could not be applied anymore. So that's why the court said, because the police did not search the suspects right away, right after the arrest, this search of the footlocker could not be justified under search incident to arrest doctrine. So on this ground, the search was not justified. And then the next issue was whether police could search this container without warrant. We need to understand the prosecution argued we should consider this 200-pound footlocker as an automobile. The police did not really say, because the footlocker was inside the trunk, so that could be justified under automobile exception. The prosecution did not argue that way. The prosecution argued this footlocker, because it was so big, and then because it had wheels, and then we should consider this footlocker itself as an automobile. That was kind of like a very stretched argument, so the court did not accept that argument. The court said, we would say this Foot Locker is a container. And then from that point on, the court said because people have a more expectation of a privacy in a container than in automobile, so the police need a warrant to search container, because people have a more expectation of a privacy in the container. So the police must have a search warrant to search a container. But in this case, the police did not have a search warrant to conduct the search. So this police search was illegal. So on these two grounds, one, the search could not be justified under search incident to arrest doctrine. Two, the police needed a search warrant to search this container. So that's why the ruling of the court in the case was this search was illegal. But importantly, we need to know in this case, the court established police need a warrant to search a container.